And here we are once again for yet another unboxing. Today we have the RLAARLO Omni-Terminator. This is RLAARLO's first 10 scale monster truck. It comes in a few different configurations. There is a aluminium version, which is what I've got. There's also a carbon fiber version. And then there is a carbon fiber kit version, or roller, which comes with a clear body, and then you got to paint it up yourself and then obviously install your own electrics. This is a very interesting designed monster truck. It's not your typical run-of-the-mill monster truck. If you are looking for something different, for something innovative, this is probably a good place to look. It's definitely on the smaller side of the 10 scale monster trucks out there. So it probably falls more in line with like a Team Magic E5 HX, for example. So this is a very interesting design. It comes with a 380 size motor and only a 2200 milliamp 3S pack, but it does have the option to configure to a larger battery. It comes with LED lights, oil-filled aluminium shocks, a whole bunch of bracing, and it just looks really, really interesting for what you get. And given that it's RLAARLO's first time out in this field, I think this is going to be an interesting platform to keep an eye on and just see how well it actually performs compared to the competition. So without further ado, let's get rid of that box and let's have a closer look at this guy. As you can see here, I got the green one, and you get a whole bunch of stuff when you unbox one of these, as you would have seen from the unboxing. So the wheels don't come on the truck. You do need to put those on, but they give you the tools to do that. And there's even a little instruction sheet in here to show you how to do that in case you don't know. So out of the box, you get the truck almost fully assembled without the wheels, and it's ready to go. You get your radio and you get a few little goodies. There's some leftover stickers from when they actually put the decals on the body. And then there's a bag full of stuff in here, as well as a manual and everything else. So first thing in my hand here, there are a couple of extra battery straps. These are if you're going to put the larger batteries in here. There's actually battery mounts, which I'll show you in a second, that you need to fit on, and that's what these battery straps are for. They're for your bigger batteries. Over here we have some tools. There's some Allen keys, a little cross wrench in there as well. Excuse me. And they also got a spare pinion, which I believe is a higher speed pinion. Now I will say, when I saw this pinion, I was a little bit disappointed with their choice of gearing pitch, because this is a 48 pitch. And I'm sorry to say, but like, I don't have a lot of faith in these 48 pitch on a big basher monster truck. Well, it's not big, but on a basher monster truck like this, 48 pitch doesn't really compute. I would have gone with a 32 pitch as a bare minimum. I know that there are some 10 scale trucks out there that are using Mod 1. So to go 48 pitch on something like this, I know it's only a 380 size motor, but yeah, that means you have to, like, if you decide to go with a bigger pitch, you got to change the spur as well. I just don't know how well that's going to hold up. We'll see. We'll see. I'll you know, bite my tongue here. We'll see how that goes. So we've got some padding in here. We've also got some double-sided tape, and we've got these little brackets. These are the brackets that I believe you need to install to you know, fit the bigger battery packs. There's also a little standoff in here that you have to mount for the ESC, but I don't know how this is actually going to allow you to run you know, the bigger batteries, because that standoff is very little, and I don't see how that's going to clear a battery, because the battery is actually not going to sit flat. My understanding is it sits upright, unless the diagram in the manual that I saw is actually incorrect. But we'll get to that as we go through this. Those little things are there. There's also a couple of gaskets here. I think this might be for when you like swap out motors and stuff. So, or it could be for diffs. I'm not entirely sure. Actually, it might be for the diffs. So that could be what that's for. And they've included those. Interesting that there's no little bag for those or anything like that. There's a wheelie bar here that you will need to install. Actually, it looks like a pretty decent size and beefy wheelie bar. So looking forward to putting that on the truck as well. And then we've got this cloth thing, which I'm assuming is some sort of flag. I haven't opened it, but I might, you know, give you an overlay and show you what this is once I'm done filming the unboxing. We've also got a sticker sheet, really nice stickers. I mean, who doesn't like stickers, right? You can put these anywhere you like. And we also have this little booklet Now this is written in a couple of different languages. It's all the same thing. And essentially they just want you to fill this out, take a photo of it, and then email them just so that they have some info about, where the RLAARLO is available, where you live, how you bought it, where you heard of them, stuff like that. So up to you if you want to fill that out or not. We also have a little quick start sort of sheet. This is showing you how to put the wheels on. This is showing you how to put the wheelie bar on. Pretty straightforward stuff. Nice that they've included that. And there's also a little upgrade sheet, which, they've already got some upgrades. I actually was just on their website having a look at this, and they've got a whole bunch of upgrades for this car already if you want to go nuts and bling it out a little bit. The only thing I don't like about it is this really crappy green color. I don't like the green, but as long as they work, that's all it really matters. I don't mind the outdrives, and they've also got a locked diff here, which is interesting. So yeah, they've got a whole bunch of parts that you can purchase for this if you want to do that. The one thing that is interesting is they have a 17mm hex conversion already, so you can start putting some bigger wheels on this. It looks like there's a bit of a standoff on those as well, so it makes the truck a little bit wider. You can put bigger wheels, put bigger power, all that good stuff. And then last but not least, they have this encyclopedia of a manual. This thing it's written in a whole bunch of different languages. Although I will say, I don't like the way it's laid out, and I'll explain this as best as I can. This is just a minor complaint, right? But normally when you have a manual with multiple languages, the languages are broken up into sections, right? So between 1 and 10, you have English. Between 11 and 20, you have Italian or whatever, and then between 21 and 30, you have Chinese or Dutch or whatever. So they're all broken up into sections. What RLAARLO have done is each page has its own language. So, instruction manual, so you can see this is all written in English, and then you have the exact same thing written in a different language, and then you have the exact same thing written in another language, and so on and so on. And so you're forever flicking. Like I found myself when I opened this up, I'm flicking to the part where I want to get to the exploded views or the instructions, and I have to flick through all these languages first just to get to where I want. So I've never seen a manual laid out like this. It's not usually done this way, and it's just a little, something worth noting. Now, for some of you, this doesn't matter at all, because I know you'll grab this manual, just throw it in the bin anyway. So I know how it works. But here's a top view of the truck. And then you've got some more information about how the whole layout has been designed, battery compartment for the radio, and then we get to the exploded views. Everything's got part numbers attached to it, which is good. And you can see here, this is where I saw that those parts are designed for the battery, for the bigger 2S or 3S battery that you can stand upright. It doesn't lay down flat, it stands upright. Now, that little spacer doesn't look like it's going to clear that battery, so I'm interested to see how this is actually going to function. And of course, you can swap out the 380 size motor to a 540 size motor if that's what you want to do. And of course, there's different pinion options and things. Maybe that's what that spare pinion is for as well. Body parts, part numbers for everything, shocks, and then you've got individual parts at the back here as well. And then there's some more information regarding upgraded radios that actually don't come with the truck, and some other literature that I'm sure will bore a lot of you to death. But the manual is pretty comprehensive. It's just laid out a little bit weird for my liking, but aside from that, it's all pretty good. And now we can move on to the features of this truck. Starting off with the radio, this is one that I've shown before on the channel with one of the other RLAARLO cars. It's actually not a bad radio. It does have a plastic wheel though. I kind of wish this actually came with a foam wheel. Would have been a bit nicer. On hot days your fingers might get a little sweaty, you might slip. It's just not really ideal to have plastic wheels. I think they can probably do a little bit better than that. It does have a little caliper, makes it look kind of cool. Runs on 4 AA's, but the battery tray is removable if I can open it. There is the option to remove it, and obviously you run a LiPo if that's what you want to do. Although it is a little bit hard to remove that tray, so I don't know if it's worth all that trouble. It does come with a little lanyard loop on the back here. No collapsible antennas or anything like that. It is a 4-channel radio though, so you can actually hook this up to a few different things, depending on what it is you want to do. You've got channel 3 button here, channel 4 button up here. Nothing on the back, and then you've got this opening door thing, which will peel this off, and we can have a better look at it. The on and off button is just this blue button over here, and then this will lift up like so. And then you've got, if I can read this, you've got steering and throttle trims up the top here. You have steering and throttle dual rates over here, I believe. And then over here, you have your reverse switches. Originally, when I first saw this, I thought, oh, this is like to change the frequency. So I've seen this in some radios where you flick these around so it doesn't interfere with other radios, but that's not the case at all. These are actually the reverse switches for all your channels. So if you swap out a servo or you want to reverse something for whatever reason, you've got all of those there that can actually reverse the channel. So it's not a bad radio. It doesn't have EPAs or anything like that, you know, like endpoint adjustments. But it does feel pretty good in the hand. The trigger is probably a little light, but not too bad. I think my biggest criticism is the fact that it doesn't have a foam wheel. Other than that, you know, this I think will do the job just fine. Moving on to the main event, here is the Omni-Terminator in all its glory. Very nice looking truck. I think RLAARLO did a very good job with the styling of this. You know, it's got that sort of Ford F-150-ish sort of design look to it, which is pretty popular. And, you know, the profile itself, it's got that open cab in the back, open tray rather. So they've done a pretty good job as far as the styling goes. You've got a little bit of a plastic grille going on the front here. You've got tethered body pins with just one hole for the tethers. You've got mirrors with a little bit of chrome sticky tape on there. The mirrors are actually bolted onto the body. They don't have any give to them, so I'm assuming these might actually snap off if they take a big enough hit. You've got some roof skids here, which actually look really nice, and they stand out nice and proud above the roof of the body, so should offer some good protection. And there's also a little bit of a lip on the back of the body here to give us a little bit of additional protection when we have those really bad landings on the rear of the truck. I've also installed the wheelie bar while I was at it. I wanted to see how this sort of fits and looks and all that sort of thing. We'll talk about that a little bit later on as we go through this unboxing, but for now, let's take the body off. I'll show you underneath as well. You'll notice that the body posts are a little bit tight at the front, so I may widen these before I go out for my first bash. But everything's bolted on. There's washers in here as well, which is a nice touch. You got a whole plastic piece here to stop this thing from sort of pulling through if you do, you know, smash up that rear. And then you've got a little bit of a cross section here for the plastic grille on the front. The body itself, you know, pretty standard for a 10 scale body. Doesn't feel thin by any means. Definitely feels better than the bodies that Team Magic supply with the E5s. Yeah, I think this is going to hold up okay. I mean, it's got plenty of plastic protection. As long as the body doesn't shatter, it's not made out of PVC or anything like that, we should be okay, and it should hold up all right. Okay, so the truck, here it is here. There's the layout, and you can have a bit of a look and see how different this actually looks compared to a lot of other trucks there on the market. Of course, you've only got a small little battery here as well. And then underneath, we have this really nice etched chassis with these claws coming through and everything. So it looks a little bit like the Terminator over here. So, you know, it's probably going to get all scratched up in the first run, but, you know, it does look very good. All right, so let's have a look at the suspension on this thing. Suspension wise, actually feels really, really good. Nice and plush. Does bottom out as well, so plenty of travel with this guy. You do have aluminium threaded body shocks on here, which will allow you to adjust the compression or the stiffness of the springs on the fly quite easily without needing spacers or anything like that. Starting from the outside here, the tires actually feel really, really good. They're not super soft, but they're not very hard. I'll say that these are a solid medium compound. Foams feel pretty good as well. There is an interesting thing about these tires. I don't know if you guys have picked up on them yet, but it's a bit of a short course wheel. So you have a smaller outer diameter here with the big tire wall, and a larger inner diameter with a smaller tire wall. So when the tires do compress, you'll see that they only compress about halfway because of the the inner wheel only goes about halfway to this wall. So the foams, they don't have that much give to them. I mean, they do, but what I'm saying is they don't travel as much, right? So it's not going to really add to the suspension. It's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, obviously short course trucks, this is their design, it works fine. But on a monster truck, traditionally you have the same diameter both on the outer and inner wheel. It's just an interesting way that they've done this here. But the rubber compound is definitely very good. I'm pretty happy with the rubber compound on this. I just hope that the tread actually holds up. And I'm just checking to see, which I didn't check. Now, the tires are not vented, so it looks like the wheels are vented. So if you're going to be splashing around through water, make sure you find those holes on the inside of the wheel and tape them up. Otherwise, you're going to end up with water inside your foams, which is going to wreck everything. All right, moving on from the front here, we've got LEDs on that front bumper. We've got a really nice reinforcement here on that front bumper as well. A little bit of give, but it looks like that's going to be able to take a nice big hit. And then of course the bumper kind of wraps around underneath, and you have these beautiful countersunk screws here on the front to really add some good protection there. And you can see the alloy hinge pins on the A-arms. Believe it or not, they've also got it on the rear. So on the front and rear of the A-arms, they've got those alloy hinge pins. The shock towers are 70-75 as written on there. Hopefully that is true. They look to be about 5mm thick, really nicely machined. They looked absolutely fantastic. Both front and rear look very, very nice. I really like the shock towers on this. You do have, two other adjustments for your shocks on the shock towers, and you've got two adjustments on the A-arms here. Now you'll notice this has got 4 holes. That's because the A-arms are actually the same front and rear, and they're just flipped. So you can just flip them front, rear, left, right. They're the same A-arm. Now, some people may not like that. I personally don't mind it because there's less unique parts. And when you buy a lower A-arm, it doesn't matter which corner, you'll have an A-arm for that corner. So for me, that's a really good advantage. For some others, maybe you might not like that. The A-arms are recessed as well to allow for some carbon fiber plating, so you can put that, I think it goes on top and you bolt it in from underneath or something, and that gives you a little bit more of a stiffer arm. The upper A-arms are the same deal, although they obviously don't have any carbon fiber recessed provisions, but they're the same story as far as going from left to right and front to back. They're the same A-arm. We've got adjustable body posts for your body as well. So if you want to run different bodies on this, you do have the option to adjust these posts and make sure that the body fits properly, which is a nice touch. You've got sway bars installed front and rear. So nice to see some sway bars in there. You may be able to see them on camera just there. I do like the grey plastics, by the way. I don't know if people like the grey plastics if you just prefer the black, but I do like the grey. I think adds a bit of a point of difference. It looks unique. It doesn't look bad, so I don't mind the grey plastics on this one. We've got CVDs on the front here with these nice, I think they look to be about 3mm thick drive shafts, and then we've just got standard dog bones in the rear. And incidentally, they've actually got the size of the dog bone printed on the dog bone. Now the wheelie bar, I actually bolted this on just before filming this part of the video because I wanted to see how it kind of works and if it's adjustable and all that sort of thing. At first I thought it wasn't adjustable because it just bolts to the back bumper here, just these 2 screws and then 2 on the other side, and that's it. But it is adjustable. You can adjust the height a little bit by removing this, so the whole axle here moves up and down. It's came standard in the middle. I'm going to leave it there and see how it feels. But you can raise it up or lower it down depending on what it is you want to do and how you want this thing to run. The rear bumper is also very well reinforced here. Does have a tiny little bit of give, not as much as the front, so it's quite stiff back here, but it is just bolted straight to the top or the very base of the rear shock tower, and then that's braced, as you can see here. There's a big brace here for the whole rear of the truck, which then goes to the center differential, and then you have these twin aluminium bars that go through here and then bolt on to the front brace just there as well. And you've got your whole steering assembly. You've got an aluminium anchor in there as well. You've got adjustable steering knuckle, or steering links, sorry, adjustable steering links. My brain went to sleep for a second. And that will give you a little bit of adjustment. The steering servo, I think, I should have checked it before I started filming, but I think I saw that it was only 8 kilos, and it is one of those micro steering servos. It's not a standard size, which can be a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing because obviously it saves a bit of space, a bit of weight, yada yada. But it's a bad thing because you are limited sometimes on the type of torque and capacity that you can, you know, upgrade your steering servo to. So, and they're not always the cheapest. Going smaller doesn't mean that you're going to go cheaper. So I'm not sure about this decision. I think they could have definitely fitted a standard size servo in here, but we'll let it play out and just see how that goes. The receiver box is quite generous though, or at least it looks to be. So if you want to swap out the radio and put a different size receiver in here, I think you might be able to get away with quite a few different sizes. And then we move on to the electronics, and this is you know, the power system rather, and this is where it gets a little bit interesting because this truck does not come with the standard 540 size system. It's a 380 size system. It is a 2850 to 3100 kV. It's just written on top of there. You won't be able to see it. I don't think the camera will pick that up maybe, but and then this is a 45 amp ESC. So it's unique in the sense that I've never really seen a 10 scale truck with a 380 system in it. I'm not saying that there aren't others out there. I've just never come across one. It does have a decently adjustable motor mount here. So just 2 screws and you can adjust the, you know, to change out your pinion and so forth. Looks like there's a little gear cover here that you can remove as well. And then your ESC has just a really nice on-off switch just over here, which I really like the push button style as opposed to the sliding switch. I think that's a good thing. And then we move on to the included 2200 3S LiPo battery, which is an interesting decision because this doesn't run a standard, you know, 5000 size milliamp 3S. It comes with a 2200. Now, on a 380 size system, I don't know what sort of runtime you're going to get out of this. I don't know if it's 10, 5, or 20 minutes. I really have no idea. But it is a 35C. It is 3 cell and it's a pretty standard size. Now for those of you out there who perhaps fly aeroplanes as well, you probably have a bunch of these as spare or in this size. If you don't, well, you're going to be struggling to sort of get, you know, more batteries like this. But as I said, there is the option, at least on paper, that you can convert this to take standard size batteries. But I don't know how that's going to work. They do give you some brackets and some spaces, as you saw at the start, but the battery compartment does look quite small here. I don't know if the battery will lay down flat or if it needs to stand upright. It's a really bizarre thing that they've done here, but we'll see how this goes. I mean, the 2200 with the 380 system, the truck is reasonably light. It's probably going to rip and it's going to be totally fine. It's just, it runs on a 2200. And let's face it, 2200 3Ss, they're not super expensive either. So for those of you who don't have anything anyway, you're probably going to save a bit of money going on a 2200 as opposed to having to buy 5 or 6000 3S batteries. So I think that's probably a benefit to some people. But for those of us who've been in the hobby for a while, this is a really unique choice. And I don't know how this is going to go. We'll see when we run it. But I think I've covered mostly everything. I think that's it. I've got, yeah, adjustable body posts. We've got these little caps here on the shocks. I have noticed though, I just saw this just now. You can see that this collar is higher than that one. So whoever did the setup on this mucked up a little bit. So I may need to wind that down because yeah, I didn't realize that that was one was lower than the other. In any case, the suspension on this actually feels really nice. In fact, it's sitting a little bit higher at the top now. I may need to do an adjustment on the back. So maybe it wasn't, that one wasn't supposed to be dropped down. It was supposed to be higher. But right, that's it. Let's move on to the wish list. Now, I've picked out a few things that I think can be improved on this truck purely based on first impressions. Hopefully some of these will come true in the future. Obviously some of them are a little bit more important than others, but if RLAARLO is watching this, you know, they might look at it and go, hey, you know what, maybe we'll improve that in future releases or change this up at some point, and you know, we'll see a much better truck overall. So the first thing is the 48 pitch pinion and spur gear option that they've gone with this truck. I think that pitch might be okay for the smaller vehicles, but when you start to get into the 10 scale where you're running heavier cars, more power, 48 pitch just isn't going to cut it. I don't know how this is going to hold up over time, but in my personal preference, I would have loved to have seen a 32 pitch as a bare minimum, or even go to a mod 1. So we'll see what happens. I mean, that's something that I think a lot of you will agree. 48 pitch gears in the truck like this, I don't know how that's going to go. The next thing is a foam wheel on the radio. I think you know, having a plastic wheel on a radio it just feels really cheap, and you know, the radio is actually pretty well equipped overall, and it's just a shame to have such a nice truck and then when you're driving it you feel that it's not quite right because you don't have a foam wheel. I think it's going to cost them any extra to do. I think it's something that is just a nice touch. Every radio out there that's half decent has got a foam wheel. I don't see a reason why they should stick to the plastic wheel on the radio. The other thing is, this is going to be a little bit trickier, but hopefully they can even maybe come up with a like an upgrade kit that you can put. But I want to see a standard size servo in this truck. I get it, you know, you've got probably limited space in here and all that, but really a standard size servo is really what we want to see on a 10 scale monster truck. To have one of these little micro servos, they're a little bit harder to find, and then to try and get something that has a lot more torque, it's going to be trickier as well, and they're not the cheapest servos, I know that for a fact. So I don't know, maybe I'm wrong about this, but yeah, I think even if they come up with a little bracket that you can bolt on or something that you can alter so that you can fit a standard size servo in here, that would be something that I like to see in the future as well. Of course, a 540 size power system. Why they went with a 380 size, I don't know. This feels a little bit underwhelming. Hopefully the power, like I haven't even powered this thing on yet, so I don't know. But hopefully it's okay, right? I mean, like I said, it's first impressions. You take the lid off and you see that it's got just a small brushless system in here. As I said, the truck doesn't feel super heavy, but compared to everything else on the market, to have something that small, I think a 540 should have been the standard, should have been what they would have gone with. I mean, they have these systems in their on-road car. They just have to drop the KV on the motor a little bit and you'll be good to go. So I don't know why they opted for such a small power system in this. And obviously the last thing is a bigger battery tray. So having it, you know, come out of the box with a 2200 milliamp, I guess it's a tricky situation because, yeah, if you're running a smaller power system, the 2200 might be just totally fine, hence why they didn't opt for the bigger batteries. But most people that are in this game are going to have big standard size 2S and 3S batteries. Not being able to fit those in a truck like this, I think could be a turn off for a lot of people. So I think if it just came standard with a big battery tray that you can fit standard batteries in it, I think that would be a much better option. I will say one last thing, just very briefly, which is not a big deal, and that's the wheels, not so much the tires. I like the tread and the rubber compound. I think having short course wheels on this is not ideal for a 10 scale monster truck. I would like to have seen a standard size wheel, but you know, that's a minor gripe. As long as it grips fine and the rubber's good and the tread's fine, there should be really no major complaints. It's just, it would have been nice to have a standard size wheel and tire on a 10 scale monster truck. And that's going to wrap it up for the unboxing of the Omni-Terminator from RLAARLO. Now, I've got to say, RLAARLO have actually got a really interesting product here. I know that there's a lot of people out there that when they see a new monster truck or a new car, they're the first ones to jump on socials and say, well, you know, they've just copied that brand, or this is just a redesign of that truck or whatever. To my knowledge, this is completely new. This is very different from anything that's out there on the market today. And we got to give credit to RLAARLO where credit is due. Now, yes, there are some question marks here. Power system, battery compartment, maybe the servo, in fact. you know, and the radio not having a foam wheel may or may not bother some of you out there, but we need to give this a little bit of time. As more and more people run this truck, as I run this truck and show you some running footage of this, we're going to see whether or not this power system is going to be good enough, and if it's actually going to, you know, warrant me having to swap everything out to a 540 size system, modify the battery tray for bigger batteries, all of that sort of thing. But they've done some good things here. They've got 70-75 aluminium in the right places. They've got you know, interchangeable A-arms front and rear, left and right. The truck looks really solidly built. They've got a lot of nice bracing on here. It's got LED lights. You've got roof skids and plastic protection on the actual body itself. The tires feel really good. So there's a lot of things that they've ticked here, and I want to give them a chance. I want to remain optimistic despite the question marks that this truck has got. So for now, I'm going to leave it here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to hit that thumbs up button before you go. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're new. And as always, check out the video description down below. I'll have links in there to the RLAARLO website where you can check these out in a little bit more detail and maybe pick one of these up for yourself if that's something you want to do. But for now, that's it from me. Thanks for watching, and I'll be speaking to you all next time.